Welcome to the Apollo Career Podcast. I'm your host, Jensen Brown, and I'm here with my guest, Chef Carrie. Chef Carrie, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, I'm pretty good. Being positive, even though it's 8 o'clock in the morning.
And it's freezing.
Yes, it is. It's so cold out. But that's okay. To get started, I'd like to ask you a couple questions about your culinary career, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
What would you say is the hardest thing about your career?
Well, about my career as a culinary educator or my career as a culinary person in general. I guess let's talk about culinary educator because that's what I've done for 32 years.
Wow, that's all the
I
time.
have taught culinary arts for 32 years. So I've worked with students that long. So the hardest part is just making sure that the students understand the profession and what they need to do to be successful. So that's kind of the hardest part of our job, making sure that they understand that.
That's fair. And do you think it's easier to work with a certain range of kids, like older or younger?
I like all kids. I love working with kindergartners. We bring them over from local schools and do little fun things with them or go into their rooms and do demonstrations and such. And high school's my favorite. I think teachers, whatever age group you work with, that's your favorite age group. And I've worked with high school for 32 years, so I love high school kids.
That's fair. I could see that. When talking about your actual culinary career, how would you say that's difficult in a way? Would you say you've had to face challenges trying to become in the culinary?
Well, I guess I face challenges every single day because, again, we operate a restaurant open to the public here with high school students.
Right.
So that throws its own difficulties in every single day. We always have fires that we have to put out. But, the guest and customer never knows that. You can come in and everything looks smooth as silk when it could be really falling apart, but we cover that up pretty well in the back of house.
Right. Cool. I work at a restaurant myself. I work at Beer Barrel, so I get that.
Mm-hmm. How the back and the front can be total separate entities.
Yeah, you can be swamped and the front looks clean as can be, but
in the back they're scrambling, but they get it done.
Yeah.
I like the high energy. I like the chaos. I like the noise. I like the everybody doing something different. I like the showcase of skills for the students, and everybody has their own forte, and they bring different things to the table. I like the energy of the high school students, just to bring what they know into the classroom, and then we perfect it and send them on their way. It's super fun.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be positive towards that. And would you say it's when you have your students, would you say it's do you see them, because obviously your main view of when you look at culinary and people think of culinary, you think of Hell's Kitchen and stuff like that. You think of really kind of brute forcing your teaching on your students. Do you think it's like that in a way, or do you think it's not like that at all?
No. Hell's Kitchen's fun to watch. All of those shows
Certainly
are fun to watch. And honestly, the Food Network has done tremendous things for the culinary industry. It's done great things for women in the culinary industry because it brought them to the forefront of the cameras. Right. It was always a very male-dominated career, and it's not anymore. So the Food Network can spin anything that they want. And, Gordon Ramsay is he's an excellent chef. He's an amazing man, but that is just a show.
Right.
It is not. If you treat people like that, they are not going to work for you. They're not going to help you to get the food out and to make the shift run successfully. No,
not at all. I wanted to see what your opinion was on that, because I think, yeah.
I mean, those shows are fun to watch. The sanitation on those shows are abysmal. That's what gets me, because I'm big into sanitation. So that gets me on all the Food Network shows, but they are fun to watch.
That's fair. Yeah. What advice would you give anyone wanting to get in the culinary, what you do, especially running a restaurant?
Well, there's always opportunities in the culinary industry, no matter what. If you want a small mom and pop, you want to work with aging population, you want to work with younger, you want to run a a restaurant in Las Vegas. There's always going to be opportunity because people are always going to eat. People celebrate with food. Not only celebrate with food, but they mourn with food. Food is always there. In any type of a situation where people gather, there's food and drink. So our industry is always going to have opportunities, just depending on what opportunities you want.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, food is just such a big part of our culture. I don't think it's ever
100%, yes.
overlooked.
Yes.
I mean, so with going as like starting a business, how would you define like a success point, I guess, when you start a business?
I suppose when you can pay your bills, right?
That's true,
success.
yeah.
When you can pay your employees and pay your food, your bills. Just having the right crew under you if you're going to start your own business. I also always tell students, so many kids come into any career center and say, I'm going to open a bakery, I'm going to open a restaurant, I'm going to open a business. Well, that's fantastic, and entrepreneurship is in the forefront right now, right? Entrepreneurs are doing great. But in our industry, I really steer my students to work 10 years for other people in all different aspects of our industry and learn what not to do as much as what to do. Learn to balance your money. Numbers are hard for a lot of people. Money is nothing to play with. Restaurants are very expensive to run, operate, own. So work for other people in all different facets of our industry, from coffee shop, barista stuff, to, nursing homes, to beer barrels, to social house, to all the different aspects of the industry, and then decide what is my forte? What will I be good at operating? Where is my niche?
Yeah, I think experience is such a good thing to have, especially I worked at McDonald's first and I worked at Beer Barrel. So taking that shift from a fast food chain to a more like restaurant, like a franchise, it was definitely a big like eye opener.
Sure, it's just a different aspect of the industry. And, McDonald's and quick service, that's huge. People are busy. People are so busy, nobody wants to cook. Everybody thinks it's so hard. I can't imagine how people think it's hard, but I've done it all my life. So I would prefer to cook than go out. But so many people just don't have the time or the means or, the want to cook every night. So quick service is huge. You can make a lot of money in quick service. People look down on that career, that aspect of our industry. Yeah. And it's silly to do that because even look at grocery stores. Grocery stores have nothing but convenience foods. Look at all the convenience aspects of food.
Yeah,
you can buy Panera soup at Walmart.
About everything you see in a restaurant. More or less, you see a version or some sort in the frozen food section, or but yeah, I think it's really, I don't know. I think it's a really like closed-minded view to see like fast food workers as
beneath anything, because it's not.
It teaches you a great deal.
Have you worked a drive-through?
Yeah,
okay,
and it is not fun.
It's not for the meek and mild.
No,
you gotta listen. You're typing, you're talking, and you're making change all at one time. That is not easy. You are really doing a lot of different skills at one time, running a drive-through for McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, whatever. How can you look down on somebody for having the ability to do that and give you your correct change?
Yeah, and I mean, they're high school kids, too.
And they're high school kids, a lot of them. That's right.
Going off of, experience, what have you done before you started your culinary career?
Well, my career, like one of your questions I know you're going to ask is, how did you pick the career? And I'll tell you, the career kind of picked me. Honest to goodness, when I was in high school in your shoes, I didn't know I was going to be teaching culinary arts. I didn't know I was going to be teaching. I was an okay high school kid. I wasn't in the clubs. I was working and, getting through. I graduated in the early 80s from high school. From there, I went to college for elementary education. which was not really something I think I really wanted to do. It was just something expected that I should do, if that makes sense. Wasn't
fair,
really into
yeah.
college. Didn't do so well my first year. I flunked out of college. So my parents were like, no, you're not going to finish. Well, I ended up working in a restaurant. I was down in Athens, so I went to OU first. And started working in a restaurant, worked there for a year and a half. Met somebody who was going to Key West and going to move to Key West. And they said, do you want to go? And I was like, sure. So moved to Key West with a suitcase and a prayer. Had nothing. I had nothing. Moved there.
Wow.
We met up with Jimmy Buffett, if you know who he is.
Yeah.
And I was his opening crew for his 1987 first Margaritaville on Duval Street. That was an experience. I ran his kitchen. How he believed in me that I could do that. I was like 21. I might have turned 21, like young. And I did it. I ran a crew, and we came up with the cheeseburger in paradise. I helped him pick the meat for that. The chili that was on his chili fries was Ohio chili. It was our recipe from Ohio.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
Super fun. Stayed there a few years and then moved back to Columbus. My brother was getting married, and Key West at that time, we called it the Rock. We had bicycles. There was nothing there that's there now. I mean, that was, almost 40 years ago. There was nothing there. Like no Walmarts, hardly any gas stations. Everybody rode a bike. There was a lot of open area.
It's crazy to think about.
It's crazy
Yeah.
to think about. I've gone back many times, and it's just not the same. But from there, I moved to Columbus, and I was working at a hotel, and I met the chef I worked under. His partner was a professor at Ohio State, and I met him at a party, and he said, you need to go back to school. And I was like, okay. So I got enrolled at Ohio State, and I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Home Economics Education. And then I had a certificate for culinary and food management from that. So I did like kind of a dual thing.
Okay.
From there, I worked at the college offices. There was a job at Springfield Clark JVS in 1994. I think was my first teaching job. And I taught culinary, and I loved it. From there, I got my Master of Science in Curriculum and Supervision, and then I've just, done a lot of little classes and stuff from there, but I've just started teaching and fell in love with teaching food to high school kids. It's my thing.
Well, good.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to love it to teach it to kids.
I love it.
On that, so how would you say your lab is like, if anything,
Chaotic.
similar to your? I was gonna say similar to your training, like in culinary. Do you try and make it similar?
Oh,
Or?
absolutely. Yes. The first, when students come into the program, we do culinary terminology, knife skills, sanitation, safety, measuring, communication. Those are major skills that you need to have in a kitchen,
Right.
and not everybody comes in with those.
No.
Math especially is scary to a lot of students. Culinary, we just do basic math. I mean, we're doing fractions and such, but we're certainly not doing trigonometry back there. So it's nothing to be really afraid of if you can get away from yourself and not be so afraid of it. It's not that difficult. The sanitation part, I'm huge on that. I teach sanitation
Absolutely.
all over the county, and it's something that is major in our kitchen. Our kitchen's super clean. So I tell my students, if you retain half of what we teach you here, you are twice as good as anybody out in the work world, because we do hit it hard.
Yeah, I mean,
skills.
Absolutely. I've been in there before, and I know it's. I've only seen Chef Orful. I don't think I've ever been there with you guys, but I know it's chaotic. I mean, it's very communicative.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're yelling out, yes, chef.
Yep.
All those other things. With that, do you think culinary kind of teaches you a disciplinary aspect?
Oh, sure. There is a hierarchy of what's going on in the kitchen, and the brigade system. Everybody has to do what they're supposed to do, or it doesn't operate. Again, a lower level, I don't want to even say lower level, but a position that people think is a lower level is the dishwasher. Well, that's one of the most important people in the kitchen, because if you don't have clean dishes, you can't serve any food.
Yeah.
So, we got to have somebody that knows what they're doing back there and can get it done quickly and efficiently. Speaking of Chef Orful, he was my student.
That's crazy.
I know, are you giggling? He was my student here at Apollo Career Center, and he graduated. He came to Apollo junior, senior year. He did school to work his senior year, graduated, went to the Culinary Institute of America, cooked all over the world, and came back. And I had the opportunity that he was in a position that, looking to get back into culinary with students and education. And yeah, so he's been here. This is his 4th year back at Apollo.
Wow.
He's one of our graduates.
So I bet that's fun getting to see your graduate work
awesome.
with you and have his own class and
Heck
everything.
yes.
Wow.
It's awesome. Yes. So the junior year, they do skills. So he's teaching them basic skills and communication and terminology and all of that. And then their senior year, they come over to me and we operate the cafe, open to the public. Both of our classes do a lot of competitions. We do a lot of community service. We do a lot of skill development in not only just kitchen, but, humanity as well.
Right. What would some of those challenges look like in your lab? Like when you guys do have challenges between each other?
Between junior and senior labs?
Yeah,
I
like
don't understand.
like you said, you have challenges between the two. Like between the two labs, what would those look like? For example, like what?
Well, they're different labs. I mean, the junior lab is learning different concepts than the senior lab. The senior lab is applying all the concepts learned in the junior lab and moving forward.
That's fair.
So the senior lab is, I don't know, I guess a challenge just retaining the information and making sure that they do understand the skill set before they move on.
I guess the way I took it, the way you sounded, it sounded like you were saying they like competed. I guess.
No, we compete. We don't compete against each other. We compete in like FCCLA and Ohio Hospitality, and we compete in culinary competitions for scholarship money.
Right.
Yeah.
When you guys do compete, like what do you guys like? Do you have to make like dishes? What do you?
Yeah, all different. We just completed in Ohio Hospitality. We did. There was 4 different things we could enter. We entered 3 creative cakes, a burger battle, and a mocktail competition. And 2 juniors won first place in creative cake, and they came out with $10,000 scholarships.
Wow.
And then one of my seniors got second place in a mocktail competition, and he got a $6,000 scholarship. So we're already off and running with competitions. Our next competition is in December, and it's a macaroni and cheese competition, so the students are excited about that. Then we'll move on to gingerbread, and this is all with Ohio Hospitality, which is through the National Restaurant Association. Then they're also members of FCCLA, which is Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. It's one of the oldest student organizations in the world. So they're members of FCCLA coming into the culinary program, and with that, they do a lot of culinary and management competitions where they can there's a culinary team. It's called Culinary Arts now, not culinary team, but it's one person making 3 plates given to judges and judged by a rubric. There's also baking and pastry where they make pâte choux and pastry cream, a cookie, and a biscuit, and then judged by a rubric. Then there's also where they can come up with a new food product and they have to market it.
That's cool.
And according to a rubric. So there are a lot of different opportunities for them, whether they want the more management side of it or if they want the more cooking, baking side of it.
Right. Have you ever gotten to judge any of them, like any competitions?
Oh, yeah, I've judged competitions. Not the ones we enter, obviously, but
right.
Yep, judging is fun because it's amazing to me what students can do. Given the challenge, our young people are pretty smart and they are pretty ingenuitive and they come up with ideas that Chef Sean and I don't even, it's like, whoa, really? All right, let's go with that. And kids are amazing.
Yeah.
Given the opportunity, they are amazing.
I mean, it's good that they surprise you. I mean, that's, yeah. What would you say is the most challenging thing you guys have to experience in your lab? Because like we have obviously CTSO and Black Friday. What would you say is like your guys' kind of like crunch time? Like everyone's stressing out.
Every day at 10:30 when the restaurant opens.
That's fair.
Right? Because I can't control who shows up to school every day. And whether you come or not, your station still has to run. So we have to make do with less people doing just as much work. So that's something. I mean, for the senior lab, every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 10:30 to 12:30, when we have our restaurant, we're busy. We're serving 70 to 100 people every day. Within 2 hours, we have a huge carry-out business for carry-out food. So that challenge every single day, those 3 days a week. Today is a prep day. So on a Monday, we prep. We didn't have school yesterday, so today we're getting a lot of desserts done and a lot of salads done, a lot of mise en place and cutting things and prepping items to make into other food items through the week.
Do you guys always prep on a Monday? Like, is that
Yeah,
like
we prep on a Monday because we're open
day?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday is more of a Monday. We might talk about what our assignment, our focus, what chapter we're working on
Right.
for the week, and then Friday we get back to the academic part of our day.
How would you say you deal with stress personally with like being in culinary? Because I know it's kind of, I mean, you have to make sure it's cooked. You have to make sure it's timed right. You have to make sure.
Right. It's very stressful. I just try to, anymore, as I get older, I just take a breath. And the sky's not going to fall. It's not. We can make it work. Coming up with, plan B is always a good idea, to have a few plan Bs in your pocket. I do try to work out, eat healthy. I get good sleep.
Always good.
That's always good for handling stress, but it is a very highly stressful career path. Truly is, if you're in charge. If you're somebody that's prepping or somebody it's not as stressful, but the culinary field can be very stressful.
That's fair. I mean, I think a lot of people like imagine like a chef kind of screaming at you. Like there's a lot of
Yeah, we don't do that.
No.
We don't do that.
What would you say, like, how do you handle mistakes or failures? Because, like, especially at work, a lot of things can go wrong, and especially with food.
And things do go wrong. Last week we made lemon bars. They were beautiful. One of my students, they were beautiful. And I cut them and plated them, and they were lovely. And the crust had too much baking soda. And I didn't catch it. A customer did. And so we had to pull those off of our menu. We had to, discarded all of those. And that was my fault because I didn't taste them. I always tell the students, you need to taste it first before you send it out to our guests, because you have to make sure it's what it's supposed to be. So right there, that could be considered failure.
That's fair.
But is it really failure? It's a lemon bar, We just had other desserts and we made do.
Speaking of tasting, what's your favorite, and we can do it by like, baking and like actually cooking. What's your favorite dish to make?
Soup.
Soup?
I love soup. I would say that I'm a pretty good soup maker.
Okay.
Yep, we do different soups every day, and I love making soup. And I love appetizers. I could live on appetizers, so that is something that any different kind. If you say, what's your favorite? That's so hard. That is the hardest question. I don't know what my favorite appetizer is, but I love them all. Baking is not my forte. I can do it, and I can teach it, but I don't prefer it.
That's fair.
I don't do it at home.
I guess, so at home when you're cooking versus when you're cooking, here at your restaurant, I'm sure it's obviously very different. Like
It is different. It's, at home now, my kids are grown and gone, so it's just my husband and I, and it's hard to cook for two people. I mean, I can cook for 100, much easier than I can cook for two. Isn't that crazy? So we end up we eat a lot of leftovers because I don't know how to cook for two people.
That's fair. I guess that's fair. It's a big change. Like especially like I'll come home and I'll walk behind my parents. I want to say right behind, like coming down.
Yep.
So I definitely think that's it takes kind of like an effect on you. It's kind of a big like lifestyle change.
It is. Well, I think culinary is a lifestyle.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
It is. And some kids have it. Some kids love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think it's great, especially for like younger kids too. I think it teaches a lot of responsibility.
It absolutely does. And there's always jobs available.
Yeah,
People always have to eat.
Well, and I mean, there's McDonald's and burger. Everything's hiring. I mean, whether you start at fast food or go up and hire it, they're always hiring.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're getting short on time, so I think we're gonna call it wraps. But it's been amazing talking to you, especially for someone who's so positive about culinary and stuff.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Of course.